What's goody, Hot Breathiverse? Welcome back. It is Hot Breath Live, your weekly comedy tune-up with comedians Joel Byers and Yoshi So.
Brat.
There's Yoshi, and we're here together. Every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, we live stream our YouTube channel to answer your comedy questions directly. So if you want to get involved, join our email list linked in the show notes so you can get updates on when we go live and a lot more other Hot Breath happenings. But
Boom.
today, we're getting into some good topics. But first things first, as we love comics helping comics, the Hot Breathiverse, working with the Hot Breathiverse, Yoshi worked with Hot Breath OG Adam Mueller this weekend.
Yeah.
Adam Mueller's been on the show a few times. He has been doing comedy like 7 or 8 years. He's already produced self-produced two comedy specials. This guy's a grinder and a hustler. You can hear he comes from a finance background, and he has a very analytical approach to comedy. So if you have not heard our interview with him or our live Q&As with him, you learn a lot in all of those. So it was cool to see you out there on the Rizzode with an OG down at Side Splitters in Tampa. So tell us about it. How did this happen? How was it?
It was a good show, man. It was good shows all around. Thursday shows were definitely like the highlight for sure. I mean, I don't know why, but it just sometimes feel like your first show is like where you kind of blow your cherry. You're like, oh, felt so good right there. And then the rest of the shows may not live up to par, but they were still good. So that was how that's how the whole weekend went. But it was just fun to like watch his process day after day after day, right? So like what happens after the Thursday show. It was, he brought his own camera, like it was like he was his own camera crew. So he had like camera, a mic setup, and then when he synced the audio, he cleaned up the audio, cleaned up the videos, and so daily he basically made clips pretty much right after the show. So he would send me my part of it. He recorded my version of it and did clips
Nice.
out the gate. And what I liked about watching that is like he's figured it out in the sense of here's all the things that I'm looking for from a clippable perspective. And he just goes, finds it, and then just puts it up. He doesn't put a lot of like crazy thought into, is this great? Is this not good? He just thinks about it a couple minutes and then boom, just kind of like edits it. And he's been doing the editing for some time now that he just does, it just happens much quicker and just gets it out like quickly. So if you see just from this weekend, I want to say there's probably a clip every single day, maybe two clips that he put out every single day. And a lot of it is to encourage people to come back out or encourage people to come to the show who are ever in the
That's
area.
smart.
Well, yeah. So
Post
it's
a
just
clip
like
to say I'm still here.
still here, come
Smart.
check out the show kind of thing. And just like, and also, I mean, I think we're both very much like comedy nerds. So we worked on like, talked a lot about some of the bits that he was working on. He's already working on a third album and he's already got like a lot of fun stuff like lined up for the third album, which is always fun. And I was telling him that I have stuff ready for my second album as well. So it's just, it's just good to watch. I'm always like, a geek about watching people's process and how they update things and how they like set things out. But as you said, he's comes from a finance background. He's got things organized. Stuff is in proper folders. He doesn't have a million tabs open like your boy over here. Yeah, but just like things are organized, like it was easy for him to find stuff. He's like, "Oh yeah, I recorded this. This is what I did." It was just very much like it's. I don't want to say like everything that he is doing, he takes it very very seriously, and he doesn't like take days off. It's like everything is set for sending things out, reaching out to people, putting clips out, the marketing aspect of it, the follow up aspect of it. Like it's just sort of just kind of a constant kind of thing. But then he also just, I think what I recognized about his process is there's time set for that. And then he's not worried so much about the other time because he's doing the work of like working on the content and the jokes. So it's like, oh, if I'm not too worried about this other part, I can just do this thing. And then I showed him some AI tools on like some stuff to help him with the clips. He just bought it, started using it. Like, so like, which I love because he's not spending time trying to decide either, which I
Yeah.
appreciate because you're like, oh, he's like, oh, this is a good tool. I'm gonna just use it. And it just started using it. So it's like, I think taking away that time of like getting or like introducing yourself to some new thing and then just deciding. And he just decided, said, oh, I'll just pay for it. I'll just use it. It was like no thought process. And now he gets to use it in his everyday kind of like grind. And he was going to try to see if it saves him kind of the time that he was using from before. But it was just a fun process to watch. And he was just good. The shows were great. It was a three-man show. There was an opener. I forget her last name. His name's Natasha, but she's very funny. She was our opener for the show. I did 20, 25, and then 25 each night.
Nice.
And then, but yeah, and then at least for my process, I just try to do uh, different stuff where if you came to all three shows, you would hear different, or all four shows, you would hear different jokes. But it wasn't like completely separate jokes. I just had some stuff that was like the staple, but I was interjecting like different things. So none of my shows were the same. And it's very similar to his show as well. Like he didn't have all the same jokes. And then also, one of my favorite things that he did, he spent a lot of time like right at the beginning just kind of getting to know the audience right up top and just like conversing with them, just kind of like bouncing stuff off of them. I mean, it was all crowd work stuff, but that's where he got and used a lot of the clips as
The
well. So
clips. Right.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
And so
yeah.
I think just like being conscious of, well, if you do the same jokes every single show, you don't need to put a clip of every single joke in a different room that you do. Versus if you do clips of crowd work and all these other things, those are easy and they come naturally. And so just getting good about being on your feet is also a fun little like exercise. And you never know what comes up. And some of the stuff that came up was freaking amazing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
I,
just
I
just showing those natural moments too were awesome.
yeah, I went and watched Jeffrey Atmos this weekend. Atmos? Oh wait, Atmos, right?
Asmus.
Asmus. I'm I'm
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm butchering some
Yeah.
names today, but I went
Yeah.
and watched him this weekend, and I mean, he had like a 3 camera setup,
Yep.
and there were like 2 people walking around taking photos of
Yep.
him while
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
stage. But he kind of opened up similarly with like a little crowd work at the beginning,
Yep.
calling out some people and kind of getting to know people, and then he would call back to them throughout the night, and he kind of played it in that
Yeah.
direction as well. So you're saying like Adam kind of being his own production team and setting up his own camera and mic.
Yep.
He, I don't know if this is someone that travels with him or not, but they had like the recorder hooked up to the board to get the sound. Like, I mean, it literally looked like a comedy special shoot just as his Friday night show. So
For
that,
sure.
that was a lot
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
fun to see.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and Adam just uses one camera, but he's
Right.
got a like a Lavelle mic, and he's using like and he's got like a recorder as well. So
Lavelle
like,
Mike. That's
is it
hilarious.
is it Lavelle or Lapel?
Lavelle Crawford.
Oh, I think I was thinking lavalier.
Lavalier.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. He's
Or
got a lav,
Lav.
a
If
lav.
you're in
My
the
bad.
industry.
Lavelle.
We're both
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
butchering stuff today. We don't even know what we're talking about. We're making up these words as we go along. We didn't
He's
even
got a
do comedy.
Lavelle mic. He's got a
He's got a
Lavelle microphone.
Lavelle.
That's that uppity microphone. Yeah,
Hilarious.
yeah. But he's got microphones, and like it was just fun just to watch him do the process. But like you could just tell he's done it so often that when we got back to the condo, there was in essence sort of a process of dumping that stuff and then just
Mm-hmm.
getting rid of it and then just like shooting it all and then editing. But it would just like happen like boom, 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 boom. Edit is done. You're no longer thinking about it. And I think that was my favorite part of not overthinking all the stuff that you have to do after a show. So for, not everyone gets, a 3-4 day weekend of a show to do the same show, to do shows at the same venue. But it's like, oh, I can just get a lot done out of that. Right. And he's a regular at the Comedy Store. So he actually had a show at the Comedy Store the night of
Zeller.
Sunday night at the Cellar. Sorry, at the Cellar in New York. I'm just butchering everything.
We're
Yeah,
both.
yeah,
I
yeah,
rubbed off on you.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. He's a regular at the Mothership, guys. Uh huh.
yeah. But he lives in New York.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, he does a lot at the Comedy Cellar. Yeah,
He is a paid regular at the Comedy Cellar. I think this was a recent thing. I think this just happened in 2024.
very cool.
And so he's got, he gets to do the rotation with some of the heavy hitters in town in New York. People come in town, and so I think one thing that he mentioned is you never know who's going to show up, so you just got to bring it all the
Right.
time, especially at the
Hmm.
Cellar. And so,
Iron
yeah, and he's
sharpens
been doing
iron.
good. Iron sharpens iron. And yeah, he's just, and then like it's just fun just to watch like his joke writing process as well. And he gave me some tags, I gave him some tags. And I think he just appreciated sort of an outside perspective on some of the stuff. Cause I was watching and I was like, oh, it's just fun to watch someone who you've also seen put in work for so many years, right? Like we
Hmm.
when in '04, I mean, during the pandemic, right? Like we just saw how he was working at the craft. And so I
Oh
think it's
yeah.
just fun to watch like how work gets to someone who's really good at this. And then you just see their process and you're like, okay, I see why you're successful because you've put in work. So that's
Yeah.
always fun.
Wait.
All right.
There he is. He has his own sound effect. He won. He won the $100 joke contest so many times that he ended up getting his own sound effect.
All right.
So that just shows
All
you
right.
how
Yeah,
much this guy is putting in work. Yeah, it is really cool to see and very inspiring just to
yeah.
see a comic just out there creating their own success, which is what we're all about. And it
All
was
about
really interesting us starting to talk in this direction because I got a DM from a younger comic this weekend, and her name is Maddie B. And she was actually asking, and this is on the topic of like clips and all this. And just real quick, which AI tool did you tell him about? Was it Opus?
Yeah, I told him about Opus Clips. Yep.
Okay. I know
Yep.
someone heard you say AI tool, and then this whole time they're like, they're not going to say what the tool was. Opus Clips.
Yes,
Yes, for
Opus
those of
Clips.
you.
And there's many others, but that one is just the
Hmm.
one that I use. I've also used one called Minvo as well, but I'd say Opus has probably been the most consistent for me.
Yeah, so you're welcome. For those of you that had that seed planted, I got you. I know you. I know who you are.
Yeah,
So her question was really, I mean, she's super duper new to comedy, and her question is basically, I mean, it's a whole paragraph, but it was essentially like, how does she know what to post versus not what to post? Because she's been doing comedy. Let me even see if she says it's very, I mean, very, very new. Maybe done like within it seems like less than a year is what is, I think is what I'm picking up on. But she also thanked us for all the amazing resources within Hot Breath
absolutely.
as well.
I'm, I mean, I think, well, I don't know. I know I'm gonna come off like someone who sounds like an old timer. I don't think you should post clips unless you are on showcases. You shouldn't
That's a
post
good
clips
bar.
of your open mic stuff. Open mic like clips and open mic laughs are not the kind of bar that I would say that you want to set because you're still working on your joke. So if you are on a showcase or you're on a show that's like got a killer lineup or a lot of comics and you're expected to do like your best version of your 5 minutes, 10, whatever time you have, that's when I think you should post clips of like your material. Anyone who's like a working comedian, who's like doing this regularly and getting paid and doing weekends and traveling, I mean, the formula has kind of been out there for some time now, but you post clips of your crowd work to get people to come to your shows. And then at your shows, you do your material. You're not always posting clips of all of your material, because you don't want to necessarily, not that you want to burn them, but when people are coming to your shows, you don't want them to have seen everything that you've already gotten already. So, which is the reason that's the Matt Rife formula, right? Everyone was just posting clips from, he was just posting clips from all his crowd work stuff just out of the gate. And the crowd work is what got people to want to come to his shows. So his shows became like 15, 20 minutes of crowd work and then the rest straight material, right? But you got to see a real comedian doing actual written material. But he does the crowd work stuff for like the people. You know what I'm
For
saying?
the
It's like,
clips and stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
like it's for you. Like I'm doing the clips for you guys, so you can share it. So then people can come to my show and watch me do the work that I've put in.
Yeah, and it looks like she's based in New Jersey. Just for anyone in that area or whatnot doing comedy shows, but she's posted a handful, maybe like 9 or 10 so far. As I was just checking out her account, but I think my
Yeah.
my advice to her was, I mean, I can't remember who we. I feel like we just had someone on who was like, I would wait 5 years to start posting clips. I don't remember who said that.
Yeah.
But I mean,
I
the
don't
thing, the thing I told her was basically like, if whatever you post, just make sure you don't mind living on forever
Yeah, like it's a
because it's
representation
on
of
the
who you
internet.
are. Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
representation of who you are. And I'm of the conscious state to know that not everything that I'm posting is like in a perfect state, but I'm also not posting things that I'm working on. I want to post things that I feel like are at least in like a, I don't know, B grade or an A grade. That's what
but
I
you're
feel.
also
And
at a
then
different stage. I'm talking
very
like
true.
she's super duper new,
Yeah, yeah,
maybe been
yeah,
doing
yeah.
it less than a year. I mean, I don't. I mean, if I'm so glad my comedy a year in is not anywhere accessible to anyone. You change and evolve so much as a
For
comedian. You
sure.
get
Yeah.
better exponentially.
Here's what I'll also say is that if you are comfortable with the kind of reaction that you are getting on stage, so like, I guess I'm also making a very bad assumption, and this is on me, that when you go to an open mic, you're not getting consistent laughs, right? Maybe you're getting laughs on some stuff and not getting laugh on other things. If you are comfortable with the types of laughs that you are getting at a open mic, post it. I think what's hard, and what I'll say is, it's really hard for people to absorb comedy that you're saying a joke and no one is laughing and there's silence afterwards. That's what I mean. Like, and I think if that's what's important to you, unless laughter isn't important to you, you're like, oh, I just want people to hear what I'm saying. Then by all means, put it out there. There's no rules to this game. There's no rules as to what is going to hit versus what's
Right.
not going to. Like, people have done stuff. People have audio clipped in laughter and made it big.
People have literally performed in their room and added laughter and are selling tickets. Like
Yes,
there's
touche.
several comedians who post them doing stand up like in their room and just add laughter and they make
Yep.
it look like it's at a show.
Yep.
Um and they're like have big followings and they're moving tickets and stuff. So yeah, it's so hard for me to be in their shoes as like a super young comic and seeing, oh, this is what you do as a comedian. You
Yeah.
perform and you record and you post clips. But I mean, in hindsight, I would not want my early stuff out there because
Yes.
you will look back on what you, I mean, we, even today, at every level, we all look back on who we were a year, 2 years ago and what we're talking about. And we're like, oh, that's not even me anymore. Like, I would never want that to be a representation of who I am as a comedian. So just
Yeah.
keep that in mind when you post stuff. Would you be okay
Yeah.
with being known for this forever, basically, because the
Mm,
internet is like pretty much forever. You may be able to take it down, but if it blows up and gets reshared, it's a wildfire out there. So that
yeah,
was basically my advice to her was,
for
yeah,
sure.
just whatever you post, make sure it's something you're proud of and you don't mind living on in eternity.
For
But
sure.
I don't
Yeah.
want to stifle anyone's creativity or anyone's
Nope.
hustle.
Nope.
So yeah, it's like you said, there's no rules to this game. We're all out here trying to find a way. There's no right way, there's your way.
Boom.
So that would be a fun poll to post though, of just when I bet that would get some discussion going of like when is it too early for comics to start posting? Or how could we
Mm,
word it to where it's implying should a comic 6 months in be posting or should they wait a couple years? I guess when is it too early for comics to start posting clips? Is that
yeah.
track?
I mean, it feels a little leading, but I would just ask the question just straight out. When should comedians start posting clips? And then just put timelines on it. Like 0 to 6 months, 6 months to 2 years, 2 years to 5 years, 5 years plus. Right. And
At
just
what
see.
experience level?
Yeah.
Or
Yep.
there we go. Cool. We should have just chat TBT'd
Sure.
it. But because that's the thing like with Adam is he's released 2 full-length specials in
Yep.
like 7 or 8 years of doing comedy, which just a few years ago it's
Unheard of.
unheard of.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
wait 10 years, you put out a special and then you do it that way. So it's a completely different game now. So,
Game changer.
but yeah. So you do you. Anyone out there?
Do you, boo.
Just be sure it's something you're proud of.
Yeah.
And Alvaro says in the comments it's good to film yourself even if you don't post everything. Yeah, it's still good to record and
Yeah.
like
I think
review
just a
your
good
sets and
habit
stuff.
to get into as well is just getting the habit of recording yourself. And also like don't be afraid to watch yourself afterwards. I know it's no one likes it. I hate it. I still do not
Mm,
enjoy it, but it's a good exercise just to get through, just to watch your mannerisms, to watch your set. It's a good editing tool for you to know how the audience received your material as
yeah.
well.
Very, very valuable. But
Boom.
that's a great that's a great topic there. That's a hot topic right there.
Bars. Bars. Bars.
So, the question we're getting here in the live chat, and we got comics from El Salvador and South Africa.
Yeah.
We all over in here. This is a question that came up in the pre-show show before you got here, but I think would be helpful. Is Drew Beekler had asked about how do you organize your jokes? He's
Mm,
tried Notion, then Evernote, and Apple Notes, and 100 others. He's just
yeah.
open to ideas, which I'm currently working on like a Notion template to hopefully help comics. I'm giving it a test run in this 4-week cohort I'm doing, but
Nice.
I'm trying. This is something we all kind of struggle with, and I'm trying to help fix this. But Notion has been the best way I've been able to organize stuff. So I'm trying to create a template to kind of help keep track of shows and jokes and how they're graded and stuff.
Yeah.
So I'll keep you posted on that. But I don't know if you have anything specific that's worked for you.
I would say the way that I have to get my first 5 minutes, I did an honest assessment of how many laughs per minute I got on a joke and what I rated that joke. Basically, kind of like I think was it Steve Harvey? Was it
Earthquake was talking
Cedric
about it.
Earthquake? Yeah, yeah. Who got it from Cedric? I think
He got it from Steve. Steve taught him
from
how to
Steve.
like grade jokes.
Gotcha.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's kind of what I do. I just grade my jokes, and for my first 5 minute set, I just pick the I think 5 or 6 best jokes. I think they were about a minute long. 5 or 6 best jokes, and then I ordered it literally number 2, the second best joke, the third best joke, the fourth best joke, the fifth best joke, and then the first best joke. That's how I graded it, and that's how I ordered it. That's typically how I order my sets in terms of how I do it now. If I'm doing like a super tight 5 or like a super tight set, like an 8-minute set or even like a 10-minute set. But for like longer sets, I organize my stuff based on themes. I like to sort of tell a story from beginning to end. It's very similar to the way that my special is shot, is that I start sort of my background. Here's where I started. And then here's where I moved to, and here's what I'm dealing with now, and sort of here's my future kind of thing. So it was like the immigrant experience, my family, and then marriage, and then kids. That's kind of how I order a lot of my sets today. Very rarely will I talk about my kids before I talk about marriage. So for me, it's also sort of like I'm also storytelling, but that's kind of the comedian that I am. I'm a storytelling. I would consider myself a storytelling comedian. I have more stories than I have just straight one-liner jokes or sort of quick hits. A lot of my stuff is themed around big topics: family, kids, marriage, HOA, suburban life. Uh,
And where do you keep them organized? Like, do you keep them in a Google Doc?
yeah, I use that Upnote. Everything is an Upnote. All my
Upnote. Yeah,
stuff,
and we
like,
talked about this maybe
yeah,
last week.
yeah,
Yeah.
everything, all my notes are in Upnote, and I just took them from Evernote, which is what I used to use before, but they got stingy and wanted to charge way too much money, so I got Upnote and just moved everything in there, and then I just organized everything in Upnote. I've been using Notion to organize like my long sets. Like if I have like a 30-minute or a 45-minute, or I'm doing a weekend headlining gig, I will organize that inside of Notion.
Nice.
And it's
Yeah,
still
yeah,
themed. And I think with my material, I always like, I have a separate place for my premise, I have a separate place for my punchline, and then I have a separate place for any kind of tags. And then I, within the tags, I don't use all of them, but I have them just in case I need it.
Very nice. So
Yeah,
hopefully that helps you there, Drew. We have Minor. I hope I'm saying this right,
probably not.
but he's from. This is the gentleman from El Salvador.
Let's
So,
go.
or as he
Zaldana.
calls it, the Great Kingdom of El Salvador. He said. But his question is: I started about a year ago and have performed a few times as an opener. My question is: should I join a group? I'm realizing the scene is kind of cultish, if that makes sense. He says, join a group. Well, you're in
I
hot
mean,
breath, so
yeah, I think
that's
it
good and
depends
supportive.
on, I think the key to joining a group is basically making sure that you are getting something out of the group and the group is getting something out of you. Make sure that this is a mutual relationship, that you're providing something to them and they're providing something to you as well. Like, don't make it a one-sided relationship when you join the group. Like, if you're joining the group and you're just joining them just so you can perform everywhere that they are, they may not keep you there, because what kind of value are you then adding? But if you're adding value to the group and they're getting something from you, and I think that makes it a bit more healthier in terms of, oh, there's value both ways here.
Yeah, and even in our Facebook group, I've seen people posting about writing together or doing like a comedy book club together.
Yeah,
So I know there's people doing some meetups and stuff, even within our Facebook group as well.
yeah, and that's always good, because what you're doing is just, providing value to somebody else,
Yeah, and
and
accountability.
accountability, which is super important.
Yeah. So there's a few options for you there. And he said I did pronounce it right. I did pronounce it right. And he said pedophiles get upset.
That's really funny because his name is
So
Minor.
so there we go. Yeah. Clean comedy.
Clean
Clean
comedy.
comedy. Next, we have oh, this is a good one. Speaking of clean comedy, Teets McGee.
Teets McGee.
Teets McGee.
Oh my God. Reminds me of buttered ass.
I remember that. That was very funny. That's a callback for all the hot breath regulars.
Oh my God. Yes.
Teets McGee asks, "Do you write punchlines first or the setup?"
Typically set up for me. But I have like done exercises where I'll write a punchline and then do a setup because I enjoy the punchline as well. But
Mm-hmm.
probably like 80% for me is set up first, punchline later. How about you?
Yeah, and it's kind of personal preference. For some people, start with a punchline and then work backwards, and vice versa. I'm not married to either way. It's kind of how it organically.
Comes up.
Um, I'm like I literally just had the thought yesterday. There was a big recall on carrots giving you E. coli.
Yeah.
So there's a recall on carrots. So now I'm thinking of like the joke or like the punchline is basically how I have all these jokes about cereal. So now I'm thinking about the healthy food is actually the processed food, and the vegetables are the ones that's poison. So
Mm.
now I'm trying to figure out how to work backwards to get to that. But I think
Yeah.
there's something there
There is. Yeah.
of like the truth is the vegetables are actually the food that's killing us with all these recalls.
Yeah. That's funny. Like my initial thought was carrot cannot, can't do it.
Carrot cannot. Oh my gosh. That's so silly. That's so silly.
Yeah, because there's other things that have been recalled. And so I think even if you did like just wordplay stuff on all the things that have been recalled, because it
Mm-hmm.
has happened like a lot. I think what was it, McDonald's? It was
Spinach, onions.
onions at the McDonald's. Yeah, onions make you want to cry. Onions make me want to, you know, just something
Die.
on
Yeah.
top of like, yeah, onions make me want to cry back to, you know, make me want to cry about not eating at McDonald's or something of that nature. Like just there's just something there to your point about like each of the food that you have. But I like
Mm-hmm.
that premise though. I like the premise that the processed food is
The
that's
healthier option.
yeah,
Yeah. Is like
yeah,
Tony the
that it's
Tiger
so
never got E. coli.
yeah, that it's so bad now that it's like that's the option.
The safe and dog food's healthier than all of it. That's the
Oh my god,
thing.
yeah. Even better.
That's where it all ties in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is
Which is why RFK is going to lead that effort because he does sound like a dog.
Oh, I'm keeping that one. Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, that's the way
You gotta eat your veggies, kids, or
Make sure there's no fluoride in your toothpaste, kids.
there's no dyes in your doggy treats. No high fructose corn syrup.
There's corn syrup in your doggy treats. Yes. Yeah,
Oh, there's something there.
there's something there.
He sounds like a dog. That's hilarious.
RFK sounds like the white DMX.
He does. That's great. I had a joke at one time that I think maybe past due now, but it was about like how dog food is healthier than people food, and then I said like that's why migrants are eating the dogs. It's the only healthy food we have.
That's funny.
No
Yeah,
GMOs.
I did a migrant bit. I think I might have told you about it of just like, and I started combining dogs versus like, so I had like chimichanga Chihuahua.
Oh yeah.
And like, oh yeah, there was the one on Golden Doodle Noodle. I think you were the one that,
Oh yeah.
and then I
Yeah.
expanded it. Yeah. The chimichanga chihuahua hit. Actually did that this weekend, and
Oh,
people laughed at it
nice.
for sure. Yeah. It's funny. I think I can
Arr.
only do one. Once I did two, they were like, "Okay, that's
They're
enough."
like, all right, move on. Oh, this is great. Mike Betancourt said they loved your special. Reparations
Oh,
on Ice killed me. Yeah, Yoshi's special is available now
absolutely.
on the Hot Breath YouTube channel. Go watch it. Give it a view.
Yeah, man.
Let's get it in the algorithm.
Absolutely. We're working on it,
Next
baby.
next joke. Not next joke. Next question from Alvaro, who Alvaro also said they've booked corporate gigs from their reels, which is interesting.
Nice.
And Kim said she booked some local work from her reels. Kim
I
Cottrell
love
said
that.
that. So I mean, yeah, there's value to it for sure.
Yeah.
But Alvaro's question was, does writing jokes ever get easier?
I think so. I think it definitely gets easier from the standpoint of it's easier to, for me at least, it's easier for me to come up with uh premise, punchline, kind of like that setup. What I would say gets harder for me is when I want to have like longer bits. Like quick jokes and like small tags are easier for me now versus longer bits or things that I'm like, oh, this, I want to let this cook, or it has like a lot of legs to it. Those take me much longer and harder to come up with. But I'll say when I get in the mode of just writing regularly, it becomes so much easier. I think that's always works for me is if I'm having a hard time writing, I get back in a regular writing routine and it becomes so much easier to just spit the stuff out.
Yeah, I think you get a better feel for how to write jokes and what to do with an idea and where you can maybe take it. But the actual work of writing and developing jokes is just tedious and incremental. And at every level, I mean, you even hear big time comics say once they release a special and have to start over, they're like, oh my gosh, can I do this? Do I know how to do this? Like, we all go through that kind of insecurity of like, I have nothing or I don't know what I'm going to do. And you have to just slowly develop the jokes over time on stage and reviewing and refining and rewriting. So you learn the skill of joke writing the more you do it, but you have to exercise that muscle to keep it essentially. So it's kind of half and half. You get better at the skill, but the actual showing up and putting in the work does not get easier.
Yep.
Yeah. Good question there, though. Oh, and we have Bobby Sutton back from Vegas. We shouted her out last week going to Vegas for the Kenan Thompson Festival, so that was very cool. That's so great.
Let's go, Bobby.
She said it was worth it.
Nice.
Thank you. She got invited to the Clean Comedy set in Vegas, one of her biggest successes of her career. Oh, yay! Love to hear that, Bobby. Congratulations. That's so cool. I love to see the Hot Breathiverse out here. Very cool. I'm glad to hear it went well. I know we shouted you out last week, so that's good to know. And we also had Beardo in the live chat talk about they were doing their first. They recently did their first show as well. So a lot of exciting happenings for people in the Hot Breathiverse.
Yeah.
So next question, and we can start to run through these here. We'll try to rapid fire as we're running the light right now. We did start a little late, but
Never that. Never that.
Andrew Morgan, I'm extremely indecisive and have trouble selecting which jokes to put into my set list. Any tips on how you choose?
I mean, The biggest thing for me is within a set list, order is important based on the order of funny, not necessarily order of topic. Just make sure that the first thing that they hear is either the funniest or the second funniest thing that you have, and the last thing that they hear is either the first or the second funniest thing that they have. Everything kind of in the middle, you have sort of leeway to sort of go in and out about, and it can be, based on how you tell stories, based on how you deliver your jokes. It's all going to be based on that, which is why it's important to watch your set, watch your material, and ask yourself, does this flow from one thing to the other, and is that important to you? Right? I know many of comedians that are just one-liner comedians, and the topics go from variations or whatever. But there's many comics who just tell sort of stories around, oh, I've been dating, so they tell dating stories for a little bit, and then they tell stories about their own personal, like, so there's like almost a theme to how they talk. So it just depends on how you deliver and what you're comfortable with, which is why it's important to watch your material. But in terms of just picking, just pick something. Just start with something and see what happens on stage. Record, get yourself some feedback, watch yourself, and see how you perform. And then try it again somewhere else and see how you do. And just keep tweaking. Oh, this works better there. This works better there. Every comedian, especially that headlines, does this exact same thing every single weekend. They're always tweaking the order. They're always
Mm-hmm.
looking at how certain things go from one to the other, whether they should have set up with this joke. That way, the last joke that they've got hits a little differently. That's a never ending process. But if you're super indecisive, I would say just pick something. Like, even if you make it random, just pick one thing to start off with and see what happens from there.
Yeah, that is the rule of thumb is usually open and close with your two strongest jokes. You want to start with a laugh as quick as possible and then end on a laugh as well.
Boom.
And a great way to test new material within your set, like in the middle and such, is maybe you have an older joke, then you say a newer joke, and then you say like an older joke again. So you kind of couch it in between jokes you're more confident in case
Yeah.
that new joke falls, you can kind of bounce back to whatever degree. I know when you're newer, you're like, gosh, this joke works 60% of the time, which is more than all my other jokes. Maybe I'll open with this. So it is
Yeah.
kind of a trial and error and kind of using your judgment. But I
Yep.
will, the stuff I'm working on, I will like put in the middle of my set and try to kind of tent pole my sets with something I know will get a laugh and get the waves moving at the beginning, and then just kind of experiment in the middle from there, and then try to close on something that I'll know will at least leave them feeling
Strong.
good if the middle kind of
Yep.
sinks. You know, this is working out material. This isn't like a headlining set or something. This is more just out trying stuff. But the same rules apply of even longer sets. You want to open strong and finish strong, and then try to weave in and out of trying things, but then also making sure they're still laughing at more established jokes.
Yeah.
And the more jokes you get, the more you'll have to draw from. So it does take time to build up that library of material for you to then be able to start plugging and play a little bit more. Very nice. Good questions today, though, man. And Steve Polgar, I think I missed this one. I need to remember to say this, but for people posting questions, be sure to put question in front of your question, or otherwise it'll just kind of look like a comment. It's kind of tough to decipher the differences.
Yeah.
But I think Steve asked about the Dr. Phil Adam Ray special on Netflix. Our thoughts. I have
I
not
haven't
seen it.
watched it. It just
I
came out
haven't
today.
seen it. It just came out today.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, incredible. I
Yeah.
mean, what he's done with that character to
My
where
God.
it's now a Netflix special
Yeah.
with the dude he's imitating. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but Adam Ray is
Unbelievable.
also one of the most talented, like, character, free flowing. He does so many fun characters. He's good at stand up comedy. He's good at character
Oh,
work.
yeah.
And just like, and I mean, let's not get it twisted, just master improviser. Like,
Yes.
in terms of just being so quick on his feet. If you ever watch the Adam Ray Dr. Phil show itself, he's just asking a lot of audience members questions. and he's just got zingers just ready for anything that they respond to. And it's just like there are just bits, and you could just tell he's just very seasoned at this. But yeah, I'm excited to see it. I can't imagine that it'll be bad, to be honest with
No, yeah. And shout out to Hot Breath alum Jeremiah Watkins as well. I know he's been doing those shows with Adam, doing
you. Yeah,
characters and stuff.
yeah,
They
absolutely.
just sold out the Beacon Theater, and Jeremiah was dressed up like a apple pie, and they had Jason Biggs come out on stage for American Pie, and it was like their first time seeing each other since the movie. Incredible, dude. Unbelievable. It's so good.
That's so funny, dude.
You could tell Jason was game. Like it was like a
Oh,
pre-scheduled
yeah.
skit, and Jason like went all in on it. He was a good
Oh
sport about it.
my
It was so funny,
god, that is
so funny, dude.
hilarious.
Brilliant.
God, that's so funny.
So let's see. We may be coming down to the last question here, or so, as we are running out of time. I just heard my wife get home. My wife is home, but the soup is cooked.
The
So
soup is cooked.
the soup is cooked. That's not a euphemism. I just want people to know.
I think Teets McGee. Did Teets McGee have a question?
Oh, I thought they already asked one.
Oh, yeah, they might have.
Oh, I was
Might
just
be a
trying to
quick
make
one.
sure everyone got one.
Yeah.
One in. I swear. Oh, here we go. Adam Vale. I post my set on YouTube because I heard it's the best way to copyright material so people don't steal it. What is your opinion?
Yes.
Yeah.
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 Why not? Yeah, yeah. I mean, I forget who was what's the guy from Comedy Central, has his own show on CNN now. Roy Wood Jr.
Roy Wood Jr. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He would post his jokes on draft in Twitter in case anyone would ever say that they had like stolen a joke from him or something like that. Because when you get bigger like that, people are like, oh, that's my joke. I want credit for this, blah, blah, blah. But it's like the internet is like wild and crazy. People on Reddit think they should be getting credit for jokes and things like that. You're like, yeah, you said the same thing that everyone else thought of. And so I think, yeah, if you are worried about that, then post it. And that way, you're the first one to have the joke. Like there's this,
Yeah,
I don't know if
yeah,
you've seen, did you watch the Mike Tyson, Jake Paul?
yeah. Mm-mm.
So literally, I don't know. I think I've seen 5 people make this exact same joke about how the reason he lost is because they did the show at midnight and he would have won if they made it like a 4:30 show or like a 6 o'clock show. Just very
Hilarious.
funny. Very, very funny. But it's
Uh-huh.
like everyone did the exact same thing. And I don't know who's trying to take credit for it or whatever, but it's like, yeah, we saw it. But also it's like, I don't know how you take credit for something when everyone had the exact same idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. On that topical stuff, yeah, it's
Yeah.
but yeah, that's in short, that's not a bad idea, Adam. Yeah,
Yeah. Why not?
yeah. And I see the final question here from Theory House. I'm writing a ton, but it's so scripted on stage. Any suggestions for breaking free from this shell? I feel like we've been. I guess this is something people struggle with a lot. I feel like we get asked a version of this as we're talking about original jokes. Now we're talking about original questions.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes. I think there's an element of people want writing scripted when they first start out, but not feeling like themselves when they are saying it. I I have a hard time thinking that this is a problem.
I
And I
don't
think
know.
part of it is I think you do the script for some time and then you just have to know your joke well enough to then break free from it. Does that make sense? So I just think like just make sure you know your joke and then be willing to try it maybe in a different way, more than anything else. Or just like in the middle of your set, ask a question, like derail yourself, like actually make yourself do something different that you normally don't do in the middle of your set, and it'll kind of keep you on your toes.
Yeah, it's kind of a. I feel like it took me several years to get conversational. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like I was very scripted for. I mean, first 5 or 6 years, I think all I did was like one-liners, and it was very just here's a joke and then there's a joke, and I was just kind of learning how to write a joke and piece it together into longer and longer sets. And it just kind of got conversational the more confident I got on stage. So I think it'll help the more you do a joke, the more it will become more conversational because you are
That's
more
true.
confident and you're not thinking about, oh, is this joke going to work or not? Or
Yeah,
doubting the wording and trying to remember it word for word, syllable for syllable. It's just kind of something you kind of, in my experience, you write a joke that works and you kind of say the joke. And over time, it kind of massages into being a little more conversational. But it
yeah,
kind of just takes time to really have that polish on your material. I mean,
yeah.
even jokes now, for me, as I develop them, they are a little more rigid at first, and you kind of find a flow to them, and it becomes more conversational. But early on, it is still it's kind of on stilts, and it's a little wonky, and you're trying to figure out how to make it flow. But what will help is you to write jokes based on topics that you enjoy talking about anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So it will come off more natural because you are naturally interested and naturally excited about talking about these things. So I think that's a shortcut to getting more conversational and less
Yeah,
scripted
good point.
is making sure you're writing about topics that you're excited to talk about and not just for the sake of it's a setup punchline and it works. So
Boom.
that's a good place to start is just what you're writing about and making sure it's something you could talk about even if it wasn't funny, you would just want to talk about it anyway.
Yeah, I like that. Look at
Good
you with your
question though.
bars. With your
That
bars.
yeah,
With
that
the bars.
it kind of just takes time to get that conversational polish on it though,
Mm-hmm.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yep.
But it does come down to confidence, which is what comedy's all about anyway. Woo-wee! Good stuff today, fam. A lot of good questions. Every Tuesday we're out here answering
Out
your
here.
comedy questions. So
Out
join
here.
us
Out here. You're doing it.
every Tuesday, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But alas, we must land this plane. Is there anything else you want the Hot Breathverse to know before
Yeah.
you leave, Yosh?
The Iron Man mask is doing good. It's still in one piece. Because I did the Iron I
Your
showed
son
everybody
came
the
in the Iron Man mask that day.
yeah,
Hud
yeah,
Taylor was asking about it. Yeah.
yeah. It's still in one piece. Yes, all is well. They still have it. It has not broken, which I'm very surprised by. So yeah, they got it. So all is well. And
What a
yeah, go
blessing.
watch the special. Come check me out wherever I am. Go check the website, yoshi.com. Also on Instagram, Yoshi So.
Yeah, and you can follow us at Hot Breath Pod if you want to reach out with any questions.
Um,
Subscribe to our newsletter as well, where I update you on
um,
these lives and other Hot Breath happenings. And join the waitlist for next month's $100 joke writing contest linked in the show notes. We'll see y'all next Tuesday. We love you all.
bow.
Bye, y'all.
Bow. Bow.
Bye.